So, hi friends, this is from Anup Kelkar's Python Academy. So, today we are back with another problem statement from SQL based on SQL from Data Limmer, which is basically asking Walmart. Okay, so let's move to the problem statement. What is the problem statement first? Okay, so basically, assume you are given a table on Walmart user transaction which is based on most recent transaction date. Okay, so basically a user transaction table given to you. Okay, in that table they were given the recent transactions of user, so we have to write a query to fetch the user information along with the number of product that they bought. Okay, according to the date based on recent transaction or transaction date. So output the user most recent transaction date, user ID, okay, and the number of products that should be sorted in chronological order by the transaction date. Okay, so we have to fetch out the two information, basically the recent transaction date by which user they had transaction and how many time they had purchased any product. Okay, that is a purchase count. So we want to find out the recent transaction of the user, and each user should be identified as an user ID. Okay, so let's see the table definition. So first table given to you, that is a user transaction table. In user transaction table we have four columns: product ID, which is of integer type; user ID, which is of integer type; spend, which is in decimal type; transaction date, which is in timestamp manner, so mostly the date should be given in date time manner. Okay, and the actual data is given to this table. So the product ID has been purchased by the user whose ID is 123, and they had spent nearly $68.90, and this is a timestamp. Okay, 8th date of 7th of month in 2022, and the time is 12. So likewise, all the user transaction is given to this table. So we have to fetch out the recent transaction by user ID and how many time they had purchased, that is a purchase count. Okay, so let's move to the query. What we have to do, so basically here initially we have to perform joins. Okay, so first of all we have to create a temporary table, or sometimes we call it as a common table expression. Okay, which basically find out the most recent transaction date. Okay, for each user ID. Okay, so let's see. So always common table expression or temporary table, that should be begin with the with keyword. After that you can whatever name you have to given. So I had given the I was trying to given the common table name as an recent latest transaction, and likewise we are using alias as an s keyword, and within the alias we were trying to write the query. Okay, so the query should be like this: select. So basically we want to select the what we want from the table, from what is the table name here, user transaction. Okay, and we want the id should be, we want all the same id that should be in same place. So for that we can use group by user id. Okay, Now what columns we want, we have to write here. So we want the user ID, we want their maximum transaction date, whatever the latest transaction date. Okay, so for that we can write transaction date, that should be given as an alias latest date. Okay, we were trying to give the column name, new column name, as in, for that we can using alias as keyword latest date. Okay, so this is a common table expression we had written to get the latest transaction, but now we want to find out the transactions. Okay, how many transactions they had done. Okay, that is a purchase count. So for that we need to write the original query which is in select statement. Okay, so for that we can write select. After the select we can directly write from table name. So we are using the temporary table name as in latest transaction. We are giving the alias as L. We are giving the table alias as L only. Okay, so for that we can using here join. So for that we need to provide, we are trying to perform the join between the two table. First one is a original table, that original table name is user transactions. We are giving the alias as u. Okay, and then we are trying to perform join. So join should be written in uppercase. Okay, with the temporary table as an L latest transaction, which is a common table expression. We are giving the alias to this common table expression as L, where we trying to perform join on some common column, which we taking the common column from the user transaction, that is a user ID, and user ID has been taken from the common table expression. Okay, then we're trying to perform the join on another columns from the user transaction table. So for that we can as in user, sorry, it's transaction date. Okay, transaction, sorry, transaction date, that should be matched with the transaction date of common table expression, that is a latest transaction. For that latest transaction we are giving the alias as L. So here we are using the column latest transaction name. We had given the alias as a latest date, so we have to write the latest date here. Okay, that should be grouped by u dot user ID we have to group the transaction date also. So for that we can write u dot transaction date and the whatever output we are getting, that should be uh, their date should be in ascending order. So for that we can write order by transaction date. Okay, and whenever your query is complete, it should be end followed by the colon, semicolon. Now you have to write here what column you want. Okay, so for that you can write transaction date from user transaction. For that you can write u dot transaction date, u dot user id, then number of purchase count. So for that you can write uh, aggregate function as count on product id. For that you can write count from the user table product id, and we had give here we have to shown the column name as purchase count. So we for which will basically count the how many product has been purchased by the single user. Okay, so we were trying to give the column name as purchase count. So for that we use alias purchase count. Okay, so you can move to the next line. Okay, so likewise here we are getting the three column. According to the it will shown the specific user has been per how many times they are purchasing as in purchase count, and what are their timestamp. Okay, or what are their transaction date, that should be written this query. So here basically we had using uh, common table expression. Okay, because most of the time query has been begin with the common table expression, and then common table expression should be joined with the original table, that is a user transaction, and where it will matching the matching key should be user id has been matching with the both the table and common table expression, and transaction date should be mentioned, date should be also match with the common table expression and table, and likewise whatever column we want, that should be written the how many times specific user each user has been purchased along with their transaction date. Okay, so now here we try to minimize, sorry, we try to run this code, see whether we are getting expected output or not. Yeah, so here we are getting the expected output. Okay, so date should be given. Okay, but like time, so these are the user 123 has been purchased one time on this timestamp, 115 has been these are the top three recent user those who has purchased on this specific time and how many times they are purchased. Okay, but we have to uh, our date should be sort in ascending order. Okay, so these are the user id those who has been purchased on the specific date. Okay, so like this is a query, If you have any query regarding this problem statement, please feel free to ask in comments section. So basically in this query we have to mainly focus on problem statement first, and then some concepts are required for this query like common table expression. So I suggest you first go through the what is common table expression, what are the syntax for it, and then join is required and some aggregate function is required. Then this problem statement should be easy. So in most of the time in SQL or in interview, scenario based question has been asked. Okay, so this will be helpful for you. If you have any query regarding this, please feel free to ask. Okay, so sign off. Thank you.